What if I told you that $1,000 XRP is not the ceiling? It's the floor of a much bigger conversation that almost nobody on YouTube is having. Strong claim, I know. But before you scroll away, ask yourself this brutal question. Why do the loudest voices dismissing this number rely on the same broken market cap math that has been wrong about every paradigm shift in financial history? They told you Amazon was overvalued at $50. They told you Bitcoin was a scam at $1,000. They told you AI was a bubble. And now they are telling you XRP at $1,000 is impossible. While retail is staring at red candles and mocking the number, something far more strategic is being assembled behind the curtain. Today, I'm going to pull back that curtain and walk you through the mechanics most analysts will never explain because they don't understand them, and the world once again is missing the signal. Welcome back to the channel. On this channel, we don't trade hype, we decode structure. Today, we're going under the hood of one of the most controversial valuation theses in this entire space. No moonboy fantasies, no emotional charts, just math, mechanics, and the institutional positioning that retail has been trained to ignore. Before we go under the surface, this is informational analysis, not financial advice. Let's jump in. Let's start with the hard truth. 99% of people are staring at the wrong number. They open a chart, they see the price, and they think they're looking at XRP. But that price tag is not XRP. That price tag is the spot market reflection of a deeply suppressed asset, and there is a very specific reason for that suppression. To understand where a $1,000 valuation could even begin to make sense, you have to abandon retail thinking and step into the world of institutional liquidity engineering. Here's what almost nobody on this platform will tell you. XRP was never designed to be priced like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Bitcoin is a store of value. Ethereum is a settlement layer for smart contracts. XRP is something fundamentally different. It is a bridge asset engineered specifically to absorb and transmit institutional liquidity across sovereign borders. That distinction is not semantic, it is the entire thesis. When David Schwartz, the chief technology officer of Ripple, talks about XRP, he doesn't talk about hype cycles or YouTube influencers. He talks about settlement velocity, on-demand liquidity, and the elimination of pre-funded Nostro and Vostro accounts. This is the language of plumbing, not speculation. Now here's where the retail crowd goes wrong. They look at XRP and apply a simple equation. Circulating supply times price equals market cap. And when they multiply roughly 57 billion by 1,000, they panic, because the result is larger than the GDP of most countries. So they dismiss it. But that calculation assumes XRP behaves like equity, where price represents fractional ownership of a company. XRP is not equity. It is a value transmission instrument. Its price is not a reflection of profit. It is a reflection of how much value the network is required to move through it. Think of it this way. You don't measure the worth of a fiber optic cable by the weight of the glass. You measure it by the volume of data flowing through it. The same logic applies here. If trillions of dollars are engineered to flow through this network, the asset must have the value density to carry that load without breaking. Brad Garlinghouse has hinted at this for years. Jake Claver has dissected it on every panel he's been invited to. This is the mechanism the mainstream is missing, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's do the math, the kind retail desperately wants to ignore. The global cross-border payments market processes roughly $150 trillion every single year. The foreign exchange market alone handles $7.5 trillion every single day. And the derivatives market, the largest financial machine on this planet, sits at an estimated $1.2 quadrillion in notional value. Roughly $27 trillion is locked right now, sitting idle in Nostro and Vostro accounts just to make the existing system function. These are not my numbers. These are Bank for International Settlements numbers. Now here's the question no analyst on the dismissal side ever answers. If even 0.5% of cross-border flows migrated to XRP rails, we are talking about $750 billion of annual liquidity demand. If just a single corridor, say between the United States and the Asia Pacific, were to operate on XRP, we are talking about hundreds of billions in continuous settlement throughput. Now ask yourself, can a network with a hard cap of 100 billion tokens, of which roughly 55 to 57 billion are actually liquid, absorb that throughput at a price of $2 or $3? Mathematically, no. The math breaks. The slippage destroys the use case. The system fails. So let me reintroduce the concept that retail refuses to engage with: liquidity efficiency. If a financial institution needs to settle a $1 billion transaction and the bridge asset is priced at $3, the institution must source 333 million tokens. That is a market-moving event. It is sloppy. It is inefficient. It is unusable for a Tier 1 bank. Now run the same calculation at $1,000 per token. Suddenly, that same $1 billion transaction requires only 1 million tokens. It is clean. It is surgical. It is absorbable by existing market depth. The higher price is not a barrier. It is a structural design requirement. Here's the math that the retail crowd ignores. Total supply, 100 billion, fixed. Roughly 40 billion held in escrow, with 1 billion released monthly, and the vast majority is relocked under transparent on-chain rules. On-chain forensic analysts estimate 5 to 7 billion XRP have been permanently lost to forgotten wallets. Strategic reserves, partner allocations, market maker inventory, and long-term institutional holders may absorb tens of billions more. The actual freely tradable float, the amount retail can fight over, is far smaller than the headline number suggests. This isn't a prediction. It is a requirement. This isn't speculation. It is a design requirement. If you have a problem with these numbers, you don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with the laws of supply, demand, and settlement physics. While retail is panic selling and asking when their bags will recover, the institutional signal has never been louder. Look at what is actually happening, not what is being broadcast on social media. Ripple has spent the last 18 months on an acquisition spree that no honest observer can ignore. Hidden Road, a prime brokerage handling tens of billions in daily volume across traditional and digital markets. G-Treasury, a corporate cash management platform with deep enterprise integration. These are not the moves of a company waiting to see what happens. These are the moves of a company building rails for a future they already know is coming. Ask yourself this brutal question: does a firm with the legal exposure of Ripple, after years of litigation against the SEC, deploy hundreds of millions of dollars on traditional finance acquisitions without absolute certainty about the regulatory endgame? Absolutely not. They don't gamble. They position. And the people who really matter, the silent actors, are positioning right alongside them. Look at the broader chessboard. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the largest asset manager on the planet, has gone from calling Bitcoin an index of money laundering to championing tokenization as the future of every financial asset on Earth. Franklin Templeton has launched on-chain money market funds. Fidelity has expanded its digital asset custody. The Bank of Japan, the Japanese FSA, the European Central Bank, the IMF, every serious monetary authority is studying interoperability between central bank digital currencies. And one of the only neutral, compliant, settlement-grade bridges that keeps appearing in the technical literature is the network XRP secures. This is not retail FOMO. This is calculated positioning by market makers, custodians, and sovereign-adjacent institutions who understand that the rebuild of the global financial settlement layer is not a question of if. It's a question of when. The retail crowd is staring at price. The institutions are staring at infrastructure. One of them is going to be very, very right. The other is going to be writing comments on YouTube about how they were lied to. So when does the math collide with reality? Pay attention here because the catalysts are no longer theoretical. They are scheduled. The Digital Asset Clarity Act and the broader market structure legislation moving through the United States Congress represent the final regulatory green light. Once a clear classification framework is in place, the risk premium that has held back trillions of dollars in compliance-bound capital evaporates overnight. That is not a slow drip. That is a gap event. In Asia, Japan's Financial Services Agency has already moved decisively to recognize XRP as a regulated digital asset, opening the door for one of the most disciplined institutional markets on Earth. The Bank of Japan continues to publish CBDC research that explicitly discusses interoperability layers. The European Union's MiCA regulation is now operational, providing the legal certainty European banks have been demanding for years. Each one of these developments is another wall coming down between institutional capital and on-chain settlement. Then there is the macro layer. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve are pivoting toward an environment of expanded liquidity. Global debt levels are forcing every major central bank to consider new forms of settlement that bypass the bottlenecks of correspondent banking. The IMF has openly discussed the need for a more efficient cross-border architecture. When the wait-and-see money becomes the all-in money, and that transition is no longer a matter of years but of quarters, the market will not move smoothly. It will gap. And by the time the headlines confirm what is happening, the price you are looking at today will be a memory. When the catalyst arrives, the current limitation vanishes. The fuse is already lit. Now let's talk about the side of the equation most people refuse to confront: supply. Because while the demand side is being assembled in boardrooms in New York, London, and Tokyo, The supply side is quietly being drained from underneath the retail market. Exchange reserves of XRP have been trending lower for years. Crypto quant data, Glassnode analytics, on-chain forensic researchers, every credible source confirms the same trend. Tokens are leaving exchanges and entering custody. And once a token enters a multi-signature institutional vault, it does not come back to market for a 10% profit. It is gone. It is parked. It is reserved. We are moving from an era of abundance to an era of scarcity, and the retail market has not priced this in at all. Think about what that means in practical terms. When the final regulatory switch is flipped and the institutional gates open, the available float on exchanges will be a fraction of what it appears to be on paper. The order books will be thin, buy walls will be hollow, and the price discovery process will not be gradual. It will be violent. There is a phrase you will start hearing more often in the next 12 months: the great priced out. It refers to the moment when retail investors realize they can no longer afford whole tokens and only fractions, only drops. One XRP equals 1 million drops, and very soon drops will be the only unit retail can afford to accumulate. That is not a doomsday prediction. It is the natural mathematical consequence of supply contraction meeting institutional demand. The window is closing, not in years, in quarters. The institutions have spent half a decade trying to shake you out so they can take your position. Don't make their job easy. I know exactly what you're feeling right now. You're watching red candles. You're reading headlines designed to make you doubt yourself. You're seeing influencers pivot to whatever shiny narrative is trending this week. And the temptation to give up, to sell, to walk away has never been louder. I understand that. As an analyst, my job is to help you distinguish between noise and signal. The red candles are noise. The FUD is noise. The boredom is noise. The signal is what is being built underneath all of it. Acquisitions, regulations, custody pipelines, central bank research, tokenization rails. None of those things stopped because the price went sideways. In fact, they accelerated. Being early feels exactly like being wrong, right up until the moment reality catches up. That is the cruelest psychological trap in this entire industry, and the institutions know it. They are counting on it. They need a steady stream of exit liquidity from the confused to fund the entry of the informed. The question is not whether the price will recover. The question is who will still be holding the position when $1,000 is no longer the ceiling, but the new floor of the conversation. If you've made it this far in the video, you are not the confused. You are the informed. Hold that line. Let me leave you with this. Price is a distraction. Value is the reality. One is a bubble, the other is a bridge. The question is, are you watching the noise or are you watching the structure? History does not reward comfort. It rewards those who pay attention when the room is quiet. And right now, the room is very, very quiet. If you made it to the end of this analysis, drop the word bridge in the comments. I want to see who actually understood what was decoded today. If you value this kind of deep structural breakdown, subscribe and turn on notifications because the catalysts are accelerating. The math doesn't lie, and the system is almost complete. Stay patient, stay rational. And as we always do, we don't wait for the future, we plan for it. This content is for informational and educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decision.